What's all the P.M.S with Coach G? It's positively motivating sisters with purpose, meaning, style. Are you ready for positive conversations inspiring you to your next level? Do you need motivation to get you growing? Are you a sister, woman, leader, boss, mom, wife, female, her, she? I think you know what I mean. Are you seeking purpose in your life? Do you know the meaning for which you stand? Do you know your style is your unique authenticator? If you answered yes to any one of these questions, this podcast is designed with you in mind, which embodies the whole you, mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, and spiritually. Sisters, we are on a journey in connecting you from where you are to your what's next with purpose, meaning, style, and it all starts with you. Hi, this is Coach G, your Chief P.M.S cheerleader, motivating and beyond the moment in creating habits in fulfilling your success story and empowering you to win in your life and business. Your connector, guiding you and bridging the gap from where you are to your what's next. I am your leadership and growth coach strategist, empowerment speaker, mom, wife, Christian, author, all those great things, and I get to serve you in doing what I am passionate about, you. Sisters, we are on a journey for you living your life on purpose, for purpose, with purpose, meaning style. So thank you for supporting the show, listening, sharing, whether it's your first time listening in or if you've been on this journey with me since day one. I thank you. And let me remind you, you can also continue to support the show with a monetary contribution as we continue to consistently show up with special guests to empower other women on their personal and professional life journey of growth through education, inspiration, and elevation by positively motivating sisters with purpose, meaning, style. And you know what you can do? Just go to the show description and touch the link, support the show, because that speaks volume in you saying, I support this podcast and how you continue to bless others. And as we continue to grow together through the conversations that we have here in this space. And now, can we have a conversation? We are in episode 79, Transforming to Self-FUL Service. And yes, I get to introduce you to our special guest, Irene Vivanco. Irene is a multi-passionate educator turned entrepreneur. She's a wife, mom, nature lover, best-selling author, public speaker, and the founder of Viva Your Vision. As an online course creation coach, she teaches women to share their feminine wisdom and build their legacy with her unique three-step Viva Your Vision practice. Through her coursework, coaching, books, and as a board member for the DFW Women's Club, she empowers women to honor their energy and their personal journey to practice self-full service. And so I am so excited about our conversation today. And so welcome, Irene, for being in this space with us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Oh my goodness, all of that sounded so amazing. I'll be running to give my donation after this recording.
Well, you know what? I thank you so much, Irene, for your support. In just being here, that is a support in itself. There are so many ways we can support, and so we're not here to talk about that, but there is so much. It's transformation in support, believe it or not. But I'm excited because we get to talk as sisters. I said when you come to this platform, we're now sisters sitting at the table in this space, filling our cups with that education of elevation and growth. Because one of my favorite quotes is, you can't serve from an empty cup. And we get to grow into better versions of ourselves. So clearly, you have made some radical transformations because we're talking about transformation. That's what we're talking about in your life and your business, I'm sure. So, can you briefly just share a little bit about your transformational journey with us?
Absolutely. So, like it said in my introduction, I am an educator. So I got my master's in education and became a teacher. And at that time, I just thought I would be a teacher forever. Like that was going to be my lifelong passion, because I had wanted to since I was 5 years old. And yet when I was in the classroom, something just like wasn't working, and I was feeling really more and more burnt out. And then when I had my second child, my son, a lot of things were going on, and I ended up like dealing with postpartum depression, undiagnosed, but definitely I was feeling a lot of depression. And instead of dealing with that and filling myself back up, I feel like I almost ran from my mothering role to back into the classroom. And that's like a perfect storm for completely depleting yourself, because then I wasn't present at home. I was always worrying about my students and my school. And then at school, I was always worrying about my little son and my family and all the things going on. And it really came to a head when he was about to turn 2 years old. And someone was like, "Oh, what are you doing for his birthday?" And in that moment, I just felt like, is that something to celebrate? Like, I'm so exhausted. And it's so horrible, but it was such a blessing in that moment to be like, oh my goodness, like that spirit of survival kicked in and something needs to change. So I quit my position like that week and just started unraveling all these things, knowing that, like they say in that airplane, I can't put the mask on other people first. I needed to step back and figure that out for myself. And I still have a loving, serving, kind heart. That didn't mean anything bad about me, though I was battling all of those thoughts that I'm a terrible person, I'm a failure, I don't care about anybody, I'm being selfish. And so just working through that one step at a time and committing to serving in a self-full place instead of that selfless service has been such a game changer. So that happened in 2018. I left my classroom and we moved, and we did a big cleanse of our diets and our home, starting to journal a lot, hiring a life coach. It just like keeps going. It's like a domino. When you start to learn 1 ounce of taking care of yourself, you start doing it so much more. And the same with caring for others. The more you do one thing of kindness, the more it spreads and grows. So that's a little bit of my transformation of how I got to Viva Your Vision, because I knew I had this beautiful, loving vision of lifelong learning, connection to nature, serving others, being kind. And I just needed to like bring that to life, to Viva that vision.
Yeah. And clearly you did. I listened to your story and heard, the decisions that you had to make along the journey, along that transformational journey. You said something, and what I could hear was pivot. Sometimes we have to take those hard pivots, because you said, I left that week. And someone would say, well, wait a minute, I need to give like a 2 weeks notice, a month notice, or something like that. But it was such a pivotal point of transformation in your life that you said, okay, I have to say a hard yes to myself, to myself, that I can show up, more authentically and fully serving someone, but you also shared a lot of thoughts and emotions that we go through, especially as mothers, as wives, what I say, I'm a Christian wife, mother, we go through those things. And then to add to that, going into an entrepreneurial journey is a whole nother, transformational experience in itself. So, you have journeyed into, your entrepreneurial journey, and you have written, I'm gonna say, books. I mean, you've written books. Yeah, you've written books, but one of your latest ones, of course, I want to give my congratulations, because you are being a co-author in this book, which is a #1 international best-selling book. Let me add that, called Radical Self-Love. So, you're living through that journey and you're sharing and empowering others on their journey, which I so love. And that's why, she's here. Oh my goodness, it's just so timely. But you talk about in your chapter 6, replace selfless service with this. And clearly the with this is what we're talking about. So I had the pleasure of reading it. And you talked about leading a revolution to end the era of selfless service and step into self-full service. To me, that was just like a transformation mindset, you know, even though I'm on that journey and through that, can you talk about what makes self-full, listen to what we're saying, not selfless, but self-full service important on our transformational journey?
Oh, I just think of it like the candle. I knew I was burning out. And when you're just giving all of that, the wax or the light to everyone else, and then you're left in the dark. So it just felt so depleting. And I think with self-full service, it's really, like you said, that overflowing cup gives so much more. And being intentional and saying no to the things that won't really light me up is really a gift for me and the other person, because I'm not building up resentment. I'm not going to be talking behind their back, getting disgruntled, doing half the job, So honoring your energy every step of the way and being honest with yourself and honest with others becomes such a form of radical self-love, and it keeps refilling you. So in my chapter, Radical Self-Love, chapter 6, I talk about the 4 immeasurables, which is a Buddhist teaching. And what really hit me was that it called them immeasurable, because it's not a transaction. It's not less of me to be more of you. It's immeasurable because together we rise. So the more full I am, the more full everyone around me is. And it just felt so different because we're brought up, or at least I was brought up thinking, being selfless is the way it is, self-sacrificing, that's noble and honorable, to be tired and not sleep and be burnt out. Like, that's how mothers do it, and working mothers do it especially. And it wasn't filling me. It was making relationships not go well. And like you're saying here on this platform, having a sisterhood is so important. And when we are tired and burnt out and, having the other kind of PMS, that's not helping other people. And like you're saying, we want to switch it to be positive, motivating, a sisterhood, and just helping others. And that comes deeply from a self-love first that we pour out into others.
Yeah. And it's not selfish. It's not selfish. I mean, we hear that, we hear it over and over again. We repeat it, whether we're saying it ourselves, whether we hear it coming from somewhere else, because somewhere along the way, like you said, growing up, maybe we saw that as, okay, you're being selfish. No, actually, when I take time to feel myself, I'm fully giving you more of me. And as I empty into you, I continue to pour back into me. Because if I keep emptying nothing from nothing, you're really not getting the best of me. And you talk about honoring that energy. What does that feel like for you? See what that feels like, because then that's what you exude to others. That's what you pour into others when you take that time to pour into yourself. So actually, okay, if you want to say that's selfish, okay, call it that, but it's selfishly, selffully showing up for you, and I love the part when you said together we rise. That's the mindset you have when you say, hey, when I'm full, that means and matter of fact, you said overflowing, because if you're so full, it's so overflowing that it's tipping into you, that we're rising together in this, as we rise, as sisters, as mothers, as business owners, entrepreneurs, whatever life journey you're on. Yes, we have different stories, but we still can rise together in telling our stories. And that's why I love this platform. And I want to talk about a part where, for me, I want to talk a little bit personal about that, because I think that part about people pleasing was one of my greatest, I'm gonna say triumphs, that I had to transform through. And I still say I'm a recovery people pleaser, because if you've been doing it for so long, it picks its head back up, and then you realize, oh, wait a minute, but being what I say, a recovering people pleaser, which is transformational. I realized that for me, that people pleasing syndrome was not allowing me to fully love myself, which caused me to shrink. So how am I showing up as my best self if I'm shrinking in what I call pleasing you, but you're really not getting the best of me? You may think you are, and I'm getting less of me. Like you said, that part of depleting, shrinking, really not of good use for myself and for you. So you're getting like a piece of me and not the whole part of me. So can you talk about how we can like hone into that transformational journey of self-love? Because we're talking about that self-full service. How do we hone into that journey of self-love?
Oh, yes, it is quite a transformation. And it's one, I always think of it like the yin and yang of life. It is so complex, like honoring that we do have that people pleasing tendency in us. And we also have that serving heart in us. And, while you were talking about overflowing and like that abundance that we feel and that love, that energy from our hearts pouring out to others, like it gave me goosebumps. It's so beautiful. And just honoring that, like when we show up in that light, it really is a gift, and serving other people. And like thinking about that with selfless service versus self-full service and people pleasing. So it was actually a year ago in September. So my 1 year anniversary of publishing my first book, Bittersweet Belonging, A Journey to Find Healing, Connection, and Joy. And it's a memoir, like my personal journey. And of course, all the time I was writing it, I'm loving myself and trying to deconstruct all these ideas and have a better understanding and work through it. And thinking about sharing that with other people, I thought about maybe one or two people or my family members that like, oh, I'm embarrassed to share this, or am I not pleasing my parents, or like, what are other people going to think? And I was completely wrong. First of all, they were so supportive of me. They bought my book right away. They tell me how proud of me they are. So me people pleasing, like this idea of them that wouldn't approve of me, was false to begin with. But even bigger than that, by owning that story and honoring that energy that I felt like, I don't know why I had that, why the universe gave me that idea, like you just have to write this and you have to publish it. Because I was very tempted to just go in my backyard and burn it. But I just listened to that
For not
energy.
doing that. Thank you for not doing that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's um, you know, you just have this energy inside you and you have that desire. And by truly loving yourself and saying yes to that part, it has opened so many connections with new people I didn't know, new opportunities. Like you said, I have multiple book projects now. I'll have 3 co-authored books by the end of this year. And so to just see the magic unraveling, and the abundance of more and full by being myself and radically loving myself, even from a year ago when I was, a scared girl getting ready to publish that book, to where I am now, it just changes. And the big shift for me is honoring my energy, like saying yes to things I want, noticing when I don't have energy, especially like I love that your podcast is P.M.S, because I am like so in love with menstrual cycle awareness. And so I love tracking that and knowing what my energy is going to be like each day. I also quit drinking coffee and alcohol. And so that's, not drinking coffee is a hard decision to make, but it forces me, like, if I'm tired, I'm going to love myself enough to let myself rest, or to work
Mm.
through that, or to do something that'll restore my soul. So honoring my energy is truly the changing point, when you get quiet enough and notice, like, what do I truly desire, and just honoring that.
Yeah. And so what I, again, hear from that, you overfilled us with much of, the owning your story, honoring your energy, saying yes to you, be you. And that's the part where, as we say, honing that on your transformational journey to self-love. For someone, honoring their energy, what is that for, for you? What is that for that person? Me personally, when I honor that, it's my time, my devotional time, my time of prayer, my time of asking the spirit to guide me, in what that is, in what my next is, because through that, but through that you have I talked about that in my last podcast, the peaks and valleys of transformational journey. But then even through that, when you come out of it, I love to think of the butterfly, the beauty of it, the uniqueness of it. So owning your story is that uniqueness in you. And so when you say that, truly honoring that helps you, give helps you and allows you to show up in that way, being authentically Irene, being authentically Coach G, Glenitrius. But actually you feel a fullness, in yourself through that. And so saying yes to you is power. Owning your story, there's power. It's transformational. um and so just like you talked about, bittersweet belonging, that memoir, that journey, that personal journey, I'm sure things unfolded, and you started exposing things or feeling emotions, like you said, wanted to just throw it away, like, oh no, they're gonna say, what is she doing, why is she saying that, but it was a really freeing process. When we go through that transformation, it can be very freeing. When I go back to talking about the people pleasing, it becomes freeing for me, mentally, emotionally, even physically, because that energy can and wear down on you physically. So then you start making decisions of, hey, let me get my power back. Like you said, okay, no more coffee, alcohol for me. Hey, I'm freeing myself from that. Let me hone into something else that gives me a different sense of natural energy. So thank you for being very transparent, in that and sharing that with us. So okay, we cannot end with this. We cannot end without, you talk about PMS, and of course, PMS is not your normal PMS. And it's funny because we had that conversation before we came to this space, and she was like, oh, wow, and I get that a lot because when you hear PMS as women, we think, okay, the premenstrual syndrome. No, that's not what that is. But, it is a different perspective that, even through that, there's, purpose and meaning in that you can share and with someone else. There's some positivity in it. you know it may motivate you to do things differently. So our PMS, of course, is positively motivating sisters, with purpose and meaning and style. So how can you give us one transformational PMS tip to evolve self fully?
Oh, yeah, it really, to me, boils down to honoring energy, like being aware of what's going on and being honest about that. Um, there's that inner world and our inner authority, and there's the outer world and outer authority, and learning to balance that instead of giving all of our authority away to other people. So just trusting that your body knows and your heart knows you are a good person, and treat that kindly and say yes like 1% more to yourself. Like if it's, man, I'm tired, I don't want to go there. Say yes to yourself that day instead of that people pleasing and saying no to say no to yourself or someone else. And it just, while you were talking, the vision of like a cathedral and the stained glass windows came to my mind. You know, when the lights outside, it shines in and it looks so beautiful on the inside, so it feels great. But when it's dark outside, you know, when we're having those life circumstances that are difficult, taking that time to find that light within yourself, like you're not broken, you're not done, there's not like everything's wrong with you, there's still that light within you, and reconnecting with that and rekindling that and making that light brighter allows for the self-full service. And then the stained glass windows are shining from the inside, and they're illuminating out to the world, calling out our sisterhood. And that's just a powerful way to think of it. Like, it's good to be social and feel that energy coming from the outside world and be like, I'm happy because everyone around me happy. But it's a different thing to be in the dark and bring that light. And that to me is what self-full service is about.
Okay, you heard it. You heard it. Find the light within yourself, and giving yourself that 1% more. Because I love that number that you said, that 1% more, and maybe think of it in that way. Finding that light within you. Maybe a day seems dark as you're on that transformational journey, because you do have some dark days, but find that light within you to help guide you as you continue to show up in your story and owning your story. So we're going to go ahead and close out. I thank you so much, Irene, for this time. Being in this space again, you've filled my cup with some points and tips that enlightens my path, to say, okay, don't be depleted, be intentional. A lot of words that we know and we hear, but then we don't actually act on it. So act on that part of finding that light within you. Act on that part of honing that energy. Act on that part of being honest with yourself. Act on that part of together rising with another sister. Whatever, maybe that's collaboration. She says she has some more books that she's co-authoring. Look at that. Together we rise. That's transformational in itself. And so, Irene, I want to thank you again. And so if you want to connect with Irene, you just heard it. She has bittersweet belonging, the goddess portal. She didn't talk about that. And radical self-love, which is the latest book. And she says she have more. So maybe you would say, you know what, I want to stay connected with Irene. You can go to her website, Viva Your Vision, Instagram, Viva Your Vision. And you know what? It's in the show description. You already know where it is if you've been listening. But if it's your first time, go to the show description. It's all there. And you can just touch those links and connect with her through her link trees, various things that she offered there as well. And so as we close out, Irene, is there anything you want to say to our listeners?
I just want to remind you that Viva Your Vision, like you have a beautiful vision inside you. Allow yourself to see it again and then go viva it, like bring it to life, have that revolutionary rally cry to live that vision, because it's beautiful. And so thank you so much for having me in here, Demetrius.
Thank you. And you heard it, have that vision and then put it into action and allow it to transform. And as it's no, she said it's not transactional, immeasurable. We think about SMART goals, you think, okay, wait a minute, but I measured that. Okay, this is different. Just like the P.M.S. So, just go ahead, take that time to set that vision. Or maybe you have a vision, maybe you put it on the shelf, take it off the shelf and start allowing it to transform your life. But you know what? Show up self-fully for yourself, and allow that transformation to happen. Connect with others to help that happen. And so we just thank you. Thank you as you continue to share this podcast. Follow, subscribe, rate, follow, whatever you do, and just being in support of this podcast as we continue to show up here in this space. And in saying all of that, until next time, sisters, let's keep growing, because it all starts with you.